Hi, I'm disability lawyer David Brannon. I'm going to take you through 5 tips for applying for long-term disability benefits when you are a sales agent or representative. Let's dive into these. Tip number 1. First thing you need to know is understand your benefits. You got to ask yourself things like how is disability defined in my policy? What is the waiting period? In other words, how long do I have to be off on sick leave before I can actually apply for disability? It usually doesn't happen right away. You have to know whether your policy covers you for partial disability. Do you have to be totally unable to work? What are going to be these details? You'll find all these details in your benefits booklet or the insurance policy that you may have, and you're going to want to look these things over and take stock of it. Another thing is whether you have short-term disability or whether you're going to have to rely on EI sickness benefits. These are things you want to have figured out before you actually take the leap and go on a sick leave. Number 2, this is a big one. I've seen this one blow up for many people. Notify your employer as soon as you're having problems with your work from your medical condition or disability, okay? Your tendency as a salesperson and the competitive nature that you have will be to kind of not want to put that out there, that you're going to want to try to fight along and keep it a secret, not really tell the employer what's going on. That is a problem. That is a problem because, as I have had with people we've represented, they could end up firing you before you actually notify them you have a condition and go off and apply for long-term disability. It's possible, like we've had clients who continue to technically work or show up for work, even though they were really incapable of doing the job and were performing very poorly, but they were still showing up and hadn't officially taken a sick leave or notified the employer that the reason for the poor performance was a medical condition. When that happens and you're terminated or fired before you give notice that you have a medical condition that you might need to take a sick leave, then you may lose your rights to file the long-term disability claim. Or if you do file the long-term disability claim after being fired, you can see everybody like, oh yeah, right on. Like, it looks like you're doing this just in response to being fired. Because if you really did have a disability and were having problems, why hadn't you told anybody and why hadn't you gone out, why hadn't you taken a sick leave up to that point? So doesn't mean you actually have to tell them you're going to take a sick leave, but you need to tell them that you're having a medical condition that is affecting your work, and that's why your performance is suffering. That will make it difficult for them just to up and fire you because now you're protected by human rights laws. Number 3, this is a big one. Make sure that the insurance company is accurately representing your job duties as a sales professional. Here's the thing. Insurance companies are going to try to make your job seem like the easiest job in the world, that it's just a sedentary, light work. You're just doing some phone calls and typing on a computer. I mean, who can't do that? This is the kind of thing you're going to be looking at. They'll be using possibly very general sales occupational descriptions that they get from the national NOC, the National Occupational Classifications. So they could be using that to get very general statements of a sales type position that doesn't really fit what you're doing. Now, within the NOC, the National Occupation Classification, sorry, it's a mouthful. Within that, there are many different types of sales jobs. So see the actual one that they're applying to you and take a look. Maybe this isn't the exact one that they should be using. But in addition to that, just think about what your job actually entails. Are they really taking it all into account? Whether you're on the road, off the road, whether there's lifting, what are the stress parts of the job? Like, what are the mental aspects of it? Make sure that it's all being taken into account so that they're not just trying to make your job out to be this easy job that anyone should be able to do. All right. Number 4, right there on my screen. Don't wait too long to file a claim. Now, I actually had it wasn't one of my first clients, but it was early on in my career. I had one of my first sales rep kind of clients, for sure. He was an interesting guy who was still working. When he came into me, I mean, I couldn't believe that he was working. He had very severe depression, but I have lovingly referred to him as like the Walking Dead guy, because this was back when the Walking Dead TV show was really big. He was like a Walking Dead. Like, he would show up to the office and just sit in his office and do nothing. He was really there just in body only, but not in spirit. And he was being paid because he had a few big clients. He didn't really have to do anything but just show up. He had a lot of residuals coming in. And so I'm like, you should not be showing up to work as sick as you are. And eventually the only thing that stopped him from showing up to work was he got taken to had to do a mental health inpatient stay. He got so sick that's what happened to him. He had a complete breakdown. Don't be that guy. One of the problems we had with his case is that he kept working so long, he was well past the deadline to apply for long-term disability, because we're saying, look, he should have applied over a year ago. That created a huge problem in his case that really didn't need to be there. He could have applied much earlier. We can always work with the situation. Even if you have residual income coming in, we can argue that it's money that was earned in the past, that it's not to be counted now. There's all kinds of different things that we can look at in terms of how to impact whether you should be working in a sales environment because of the residual income and things like that. You should always be looking at whether you should apply now, even if you still have income coming in. The other thing is, finally, number 5, protect your employment. So this one, you really have to take stock yourself and figure out, how oppositional is my employer going to be? Do you need to take steps to put them on notice of things? Are they going to protect your job in any way? Are they going to just give your clients, assign them all to other people? You'll never get them back. Are they going to try to terminate you? It all depends on the work environment you're in. But this is something you are going to want to think about early on and get legal help to figure out, how are we going to deal with this situation? How aggressive do you think your employer is going to be? And a lawyer who works in this area will be able to help you with that. Now, those are 5 tips that specifically apply to sales agents and representatives who are applying for long-term disability. I would encourage you, with someone in your occupational group, get help early. Like, I would really encourage you to speak with a lawyer early on, even before you leave work. You can do that by getting in touch with us or another disability law firm, contacting us through the links on this page or down in the description here in this video if you're on YouTube. I do encourage you to do that because of how complicated your case can be and how much is on the line. I wish you all the best, and we'll see you back here next time.